My husband's actually really good at doing this and I'm not. He's not here. Whoa. Woo. Okay, sugar everywhere. Hello everyone, this is Ashley and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to make some Christmas sugar cookies with icing decorations, so stay tuned. Well, hello everyone, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays to you, or even just Happy Thursday to you. So today is Christmas Eve that I'm uploading this video. Today I want to share with you guys a small tradition that my husband and I kind of started that we are going to continue to share with our families, and so I want to share with you guys as well. So I'm not the best baker, but we did this last year. My husband and I were actually literally quarantined and locked down on Christmas. So we found a way to keep ourselves entertained. We learned how to make Christmas cookies, as my family does enjoy them as well. I actually make some and take them to my family of the cookies that were not decorated, and my nephew and my sister-in-law and all of us, we decorated our own cookies for Christmas, after Christmas type thing. So I don't know, that was kind of like what we did as a tradition, and I just want to share it with you guys today. Now, I will say, spoiler alert, that my kitchen and stuff is not super clean or organized at this point. You guys can see little Mickey Mac right there. She's eating some food. But I am wearing one of my favorite Christmas sweaters because it is time to make cookies, and I have on, oh, hi Trixie, hi dog. And I have on some of my gingerbread cookie cat socks, so we are ready to make some cookies. And yes, I do make a whoopsie, I do burn a few, but they still turn out pretty decent. So let's just jump right in. Now it's time to gather our supplies. So I have actually written out the recipe here. I know my handwriting is kind of iffy, you know, you haven't seen my handwriting before, but here it is. So I have a side for what we need for the cookies, I have a side for what we need for the icing, and then I have a couple little like short instructions down here. So if you're interested in the recipe that I use, I do adapt it a teeny tiny little bit, mainly with the icing. Here it is, and like I said, I did actually get this off of Pinterest, so I'm also going to link the Pinterest link down below. So let's go through everything that you will need, including the utensils that you will need. So for the cookies, you're going to need 3/4 a cup of unsalted butter. Now I use the sticks just because it's a little easier, but with this, what you need is 1.5 sticks will give you a 3/4 of a cup. So 1.5 sticks of butter to make just one batch. We need 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. That's what I've got back here. We need 1 large egg. Make sure you have some good eggs here. 2 teaspoons, not tablespoons, of pure vanilla extract if you like that flavoring. It does give it a little bit more of like the sugary flavoring. Then you need 2 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and you do want to make sure that you spoon this in and level it to get 2 1/4 cup of flour. Also, to make them actually rise, baking powder is a must. You need 1/2 of a teaspoon of baking powder and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And then also you can add some flavoring. I don't add any flavoring in here. I just kind of leave it how it is because the icing is super sweet. Just gonna point that out now. So you can do some flavoring if you see my notes here. You can do some flavoring, 1/2 teaspoon. You can add of almond extract if you want to do like lemon, if you want it to be sour, and you can do some others if you like some other flavors. But we just like to do it regular and just have plain sugar cookies because the icing is super sweet. Speaking of icing, what you're gonna need for the icing, the main component is going to be powdered sugar, what they call confectioner's sugar. You will need 1.5 cups of confectioner's sugar. You will need 1/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. Again, vanilla. You will need, what makes it thick and for it to actually harden is going to be light corn syrup. And you will need 1 teaspoon of light corn syrup. And then 2 to 2.5 tablespoons of room temperature water and a pinch of salt. Now we actually adapt this just a little bit because it depends on what kind of consistency you want particularly. The icing and decorating, you will definitely need some Ziploc bags to put your icing in, unless you have like really cool piping bottles, which we don't. So the icing does take almost 24 hours to completely harden. So you can eat them as soon as you ice them, or you can wait till they harden. Make sure you have some kind of sprinkles. I kept these because they had really cute stars for the trees. So you're gonna want some cookie cutters of some cute shapes. So we have like a little gingerbread man. We have a cat, obviously, because I love cats. Also, we use a witch's hat as a Santa hat, so that's really fun. We have a snowflake and we have a Christmas tree. There he is right there. So the other utensils you're going to obviously need, you're going to need a stand mixer. You're going to need some mixing bowls, at least 2 to do your dry ingredients and your wet ingredients, and then you'll need a bowl for your icing later as well. You're going to need baking sheets. You're going to need possibly some cling wrap if you're wanting to like actually store your dough. You can actually store it for up to 2 days and then keep using it. Parchment paper in order to roll out your dough and to cook with. And you're going to need a whisk for your icing. You need a rolling pin. I really highly suggest a rolling pin. And then extra flour for whenever you use that. And you're going to need a really cute decorative plate if you have that, and a measuring cup. Now, I honestly felt kind of intimidated doing this kind of recipe because I'm not like a big baker. I'm scared of following instructions and doing it incorrectly, but that's the cool thing about baking is that you can adapt things to your own. So like I made some notes down here of some notes that I use, like check consistency of the icing, use Ziploc bags, food coloring and food and sprinkles, and use a toothpick. That's like another thing that we learned is using a toothpick to help spread, and it will take up to 24 hours to harden. So it's just kind of like adapting it to your own. Don't feel intimidated. It took us like, I don't know, 4 or 5 batches to get them exactly how we like them. And then they always don't turn out exactly, even if you follow the recipes. So don't get discouraged. It's about baking and you're just gonna eat them eventually anyway. So, all right, let's actually get started making our cookies. Okay, so I have moved all of the icing things, the decorating things over this way because now we're gonna focus on making the actual cookies. So what we're gonna do first is just jump right in. I'm gonna take my biggest bowl here. I'm gonna start with the very first thing on my list. It says to use some unsalted room temperature butter. So this has been sitting out for a couple of hours now. Hopefully it's gonna be soft enough. It feels a little hard, but it doesn't need to be like completely soft or to fall apart. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do 1.5 sticks of butter is going to equal 3/4 of a cup of butter. If you don't have sticks, then you just want to grab your cup of butter. So there's that. And then we're gonna do 1/2 of this one. And I will save the other half because I'm probably gonna make more than 1 batch. So I will eventually use all of this butter for sure. Right in half. Oh yeah, it's pretty soft. Okay, so there is our 1.5 sticks of butter. And then we're gonna mix that with our sugar first to start all this off. So we're really gonna get the butter nice and soft and we're gonna mix in the sugar with it. So we're gonna do, this is 1/2 of a cup of sugar. So I need 1/2 cup and 1/4 to make 3/4. So just 1/2 of that, and now we're getting 3/4. So we're gonna do this, and you're gonna need your stand mixer or your hand mixer. I have my trusty old hand mixer here. This is kind of hard to do, I'm gonna be honest. It's a little hard to mix the butter with the sugar, but you want it to be kind of lumpy. It's not gonna be completely smooth because we're making a dough, remember? So I like to kind of push on my butter a little bit first to get it a little broken up. Oh boy, it's still a little cold, but we'll get it. All right, here we go. High speed. And sugar is all over the place. Okay. Just want to get like a few like clumpy things to getting it all mixed up. Maybe my butter wasn't completely as room temp as it should have been. So be sure you leave out your butter for quite a while before you do this. All right, next we're gonna go ahead and add in more of the wet ingredients. So I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Yes, I have a tablespoon. There's that. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my 1 large egg. But that egg did not want to crack. He said, no, not today. All right, 1 large egg. And that is it for our wet ingredients. We're gonna mix all of this together a little bit better with something more wet. All right, and so that is what we should be looking for, something that's got it creamed. The butter is nice and creamed together. The sugar is mixed in, the egg is mixed in. It's gonna look a little bit wet, and it should look almost powdery. See how it looks almost like snow a little bit? So that is going to be our wet ingredients. Now we get to move into mixing and whisking together our dry ingredients, and then we'll put them all together. So for our dry ingredients, I'm gonna put these eggs back. For our dry ingredients, we're gonna start with 2 1/4 cups of flour that is leveled. Okay, so for this one, I have a 1/4 cup. So I'm gonna take a lot of scoopy scoops. So if we have 2 1/4, that's gonna take 4, 8, 9 cups of flour. So, oh boy, I hope that I can remember that. Because like I said, flour is like one of the more important things. Okay, 1 scoop and some for the counter. And 9. So 2 1/4 cup of flour, or 9 scoops of a 1/4 cup. So our other dry ingredients, we're gonna do 1/2 of a teaspoon of baking powder. Okay. 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Salt. Looking for my little shaker of salt. Okay, it's about 1/4 of a teaspoon. All right, so that is all of our dry ingredients. So now we're gonna actually whisk this together. All right, got that good and whisked together. And now we get to combine our dry ingredients with our wet ingredients with our hand mixer in order to actually make the dough. Now this is actually a little bit easier if you have a partner or somebody to help you. Usually my husband is here and usually he helps me make these, but today I'm on my own, at least for this batch, to show you guys. So fingers crossed this goes well. So what you're supposed to do is pour in a little bit at a time. So if you have a stand mixer, you just want to have it going, and then slowly pour in some of this dough or some of this the dry ingredients. If you don't, I'm just gonna sprinkle a little and mix a little. So here we go. Now doing it this way actually will help you keep the consistency, because if it looks like it's getting too hard, too clumpy, then you can back off a little bit, maybe not put all of it. If you need to add more, then you kind of have an idea of that. So see how it's getting a little bit more clumpy? That's what we want. We're wanting it to get nice and clumpy where it's gonna stick together to make a dough. So it will start getting hard to actually mix this. Okay, and also it's important to know that you don't want to keep going until you have a bunch of teeny tiny pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and do pretty much all of this now because we're getting really close to the consistency I need. Okay, see how it's starting to get really small? Right, so that's when I'm gonna make sure I just mix it very lightly. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to do it on super high. We're gonna just mix this in very easily, and then we're gonna start using our hands. All right. So see, it came off completely off of our mixer. So this is the fun part. This is the part where you get to use your hands. So if you like to use your hands when you make things, this is the fun part. So we're gonna continue mixing this and trying to push it into kind of a dough. See how it's starting to stick? Right. Just gonna start trying to make it into a dough ball. Sometimes you have to do 2 separate dough balls. I lost a little piece, sorry dude. But you can't necessarily just make these on the fly. In order for this specific recipe that I use to actually work and to rise and to get your nice cookie shapes and all of that, you are going to have to chill this dough. Now there's multiple ways of doing it. I have seen people that will just go ahead and roll like these two balls here. They'll go ahead and roll these balls up and just put them in cling wrap and put them in your fridge for like an hour to 2 hours and then let them sit in that way. And then you can roll them out. What I like to do is I like to go ahead and just roll it out. That way, while we chill it, they're already gonna be in their actual sheet form. So actually what we can do as soon as it has chilled for an hour to 2 hours, then we can pull it out and just go ahead and make our, cut out our shapes. So you don't have to worry about rolling out the dough while it's cold. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our dough balls. Like I said, we're gonna go ahead and spread out some flour on this counter, go ahead and roll them out and then put them on some parchment paper and on our baking sheets and put them in the fridge to actually harden. So, all right, here we go. What we're gonna need for this, and we'll just scoot a couple things over. You're definitely gonna need a lot of counter space. We're done with the mixer. I'm honestly not good at rolling out dough. My husband is actually really good at it. He usually does it for me. But anyway, I'm going to attempt it. So what we're gonna do is just make sure your surface is nice and clean. And we're gonna put a bunch of flour. This is definitely the fun part if you have kids or just kids at heart like me, is actually just playing in the flour and stuff. You can give the kids like their own little tiny dough ball that they can play with and roll out. And I don't know, I think it's really fun. So definitely get some on your hands as well. Get us all ready. Ooh, that was stuck in my sink. Okay, and then we're gonna take one of our dough balls. I'm gonna sprinkle it up pretty good. This flour is not gonna affect the baking or anything. Rusty rolling pin. I am gonna dust this a teeny tiny bit as well, because this dough ball is meant to be sticky so that whenever you actually bake them, they aren't gonna fall apart. So, all right, here we go. So all you're gonna wanna do is take this and roll it nice and easy, nice and thin. I honestly don't know exactly how thin I do these. Like I don't do a measuring, like I don't measure how. See, it's starting to stick. If you start to stick, take it off, put some more flour on everything. If you start to stick. I don't know exactly how thin I do these. I like my cookies really thin so they can be really like crunchy, if that makes sense, like crispy crunchy. All right, so I need to put a little bit more flour down here. And the really cool thing about this dough is first we're gonna put this in, we're gonna put this on parchment paper and we're gonna put it in the fridge. But the really cool thing about this dough is like, you don't just cut the cookies once. You actually will cut the cookies out of this, place them, and I suggest re-chilling them, so I will show you that process. Here's parchment paper. Terrible at opening. All right, so there is our first little sheet of dough. I'm gonna go ahead and do the next one really, really quick like. But like I said, you're actually able to, you'll chill this first for about an hour to 2 hours. You can actually chill them for up to 24 hours if you want, but it may dry out. But anyways, so we're gonna do this for about an hour and then I'm going to cut them out and then we take the scraps and do it all over again. So total, we probably get close to 30 cookies out of these two with the size ones that we use. So we're going to put this one in the fridge and then we're gonna roll out the next ball. And yes, this part will be very messy, but isn't that kind of the point? Like if you're not making a mess, are you really baking? Are you really having fun? Now it will make it a little easier if you want to roll it on the parchment paper. My only thing is that I like to put them on these little cookie trays so they're kind of elevated and off surfaces. So if you have like parchment paper and you just want to roll it straight on the parchment paper, that will work too. I just always have problems with this like curling up and stuff when I'm trying to roll it. So I just do it on the counter. Plus it's a lot more fun that way. So suggestion, you could roll it out on parchment paper and then just transfer the parchment paper. All right, let's chill. Look, see, tiny dough ball. They have like tiny kids baking kits and all that stuff too, so that would be super cute. Like give them their own little thing, give them their own little cookie. They can make their own tiny cookies. Okay, so while the cookie dough is actually chilling in the fridge, we're just gonna take some time to do some other things. So if you need to wrap some presents, you could be wrapping some presents while your cookie dough is chilling. If you want to make some hot cocoa, you could make some hot cocoa and drink it. You could watch a Christmas movie. So you're gonna wait for about an hour to 2 hours for your dough to chill. So do something fun. I'm actually personally gonna go keep watching the release season 4 of Camp Cretaceous. I love Jurassic Park. If you guys know, it's like my favorite movie ever. And so Jurassic Park Camp Cretaceous, or Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, whichever it is really a really cool like little mini series and stuff. And I know, I like that show. So I'm watching that. But yeah, so we're gonna let that chill. Okay, it has been about an hour since our dough has been chilling. I'm gonna go ahead and take these 2 sheets out of the fridge and start cutting them. According to our instructions here, we need to turn our oven on to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So that can be preheating while we cut these out. So see, you can probably fit a couple more on here, but I'm just gonna do these few for right now, and I'll cut out some more as these are baking. So 350, about 10 minutes. Okay, cookies are in the oven. So like I said, we're gonna wait about 10 to 12 minutes for the cookies to be done. I'm not 100% sure if they're gonna turn out very well, simply because I noticed I put them on the bottom, almost bottom rack. That's not a good thing. And then also, I made them pretty thin. So I'm kind of scared that they're not gonna turn out super well, but hopefully they will, and hopefully they will still taste delicious anyways, and you're just gonna decorate them anyways as well and give them as like a gift if you want to. So we're gonna go ahead and wait for those to bake, and then we'll take them out, I'll show you, and we'll start the decorating process, which is the actual fun part. Okay, cookies are done baking, and if you notice, yeah, there's a few burnt ones. So it has been a year since I've made these cookies, and I kind of made an oopsie with making the parchment paper too big. So what I think is also a problem is in our oven, I had the rack too low. So you may want to make sure the rack is in the middle of your oven. And another thing I think is the reason some of these burned on the ends, they were only in there for literally 8 minutes. I think the reason that they burned as well is because they're really thin. See how thin that is? As compared to, say, this Christmas tree. So it's not nearly as thin. Some of these, like right here and this snowflake, they were really thin on the edges. So like I said, it's been a year since I've made these, but like my biggest thing to tell you, I guess, is Make sure they're a little bit thick. Don't make them super, super thin. And if you are gonna make them super, super thin, probably only cook them for 6 minutes and then check them. So, but the ones that are actually like aren't as crispy are still a little bit on the bottom, but I think that's because I had them so close to the bottom rack. So anyways, we do have cookies. We have a few that we can still use and I can still show you guys. I have a few of like each design that we can do that aren't too badly burned. So we're gonna go into the decorating phase. You might wanna let them cool off for like, I don't know, an hour at the very least. Okay, now it is one of my favorite times. I think I said that throughout this whole video. The decorating is definitely fun. However, it can become frustrating just because you want your icing to get just right. And it's actually pretty hard to get your icing just right. So we've made many, many batches of this icing, and I'm gonna go by the recipe that was given that I've gone by so far. So we're gonna need 1.5 cups of confectioner's sugar. So there's one. Whoop. And I need a 1/2 cup. A little bit more. Yes, 1/2 cup. Okay, so 1.5 cups of confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar. Then we're gonna need let's go ahead and do the vanilla extract. So what's gonna happen is whenever you pour in the corn syrup and stuff, it's gonna start making it like a little thicker, and then eventually it will harden because you have that corn syrup in there. So we only need 1/4 teaspoon. That's pretty close. That's just gonna give a little extra flavor. All right. And then 1 teaspoon of corn syrup. Now, like I said, this is the recipe, but it's not exact depending on how you want it. So there's some points that you may have to add in more of something or less of something. And then we need 2 tablespoons. So I'm gonna have to do quite a few of these of water. Now you can add water, you can always take water out. So I like to start pretty small on the water front. And once you put everything in there, you just start whisking. So look at that. That's 2.5 cups, or yeah, 2.5 cups of confectioner's sugar. So see how it goes, it not really melts down, but it compacts down. But what we're looking for in the icing is something that can be somewhat poured, but that is also not gonna be running because it'll run off your cookie. And we need something that is gonna be able to harden. So I think this is a pretty good consistency. I may put a tiny bit too much water, but it's kind of like a balancing game. But that's the thing is, like, after you've got it mixed like this, you can go and put in a little bit more powdered sugar or a little bit more corn starch. Just don't put a lot, and it will help it not be so watery. If it's too thick, then you can add in some more water. If you don't want any color, then boom, you got white icing. It'll actually dry a little bit clear, so it's not gonna be completely white. But, oh, look at my mess. Oh, just look at my mess. But if you're wanting colors, this is the time to mix in your colors. So I'm definitely going to do some Christmas colors just to show y'all, but you can definitely mix as many as you want. And you can put as many drops as you want. I usually start out small and then go, then stir and then do more and then stir. So remember also that this is going to harden and your color is going to be a little bit darker, like maybe a shade darker when it hardens. So on your cookie, it'll look light when you're decorating it, but when you're actually, and it hardens, it'll be darker. So. So here's an example of how much icing that made. Okay, that much. All right, so whenever we actually decorate these, we're gonna kind of use it like a piping bag, cut off the tiny tip and then squeeze. But you have to make sure that this part is closed, and you have to make sure you don't make your tip too wide. And if you're going to set it down, you may have to kind of stop it and set it like this so it doesn't actually get everywhere. But I'll show you that in a second. Let's go ahead and make a couple more colors and then we'll decorate. Show you with one of these trees, it isn't too terribly bad, how I would decorate these. So I would just take this bag of icing. I usually get it kind of away from the tip just a little bit before I do this. And I'm gonna cut a tiny, tiny, tiny hole. Tiny, tiny, tiny hole. Okay? And then we should have icing that will pour out. So when you want to actually stop it, I just kind of tip it over a little bit and then just set it up where it's up. And then my secret weapon is, yeah, I got it a little runny this time. My secret weapon is using a toothpick to help spread it. So if you want it all over the cookie, you might want to use a toothpick to help spread a little. So there, and then we're gonna leave that to harden, or if you want to get fancy, you can take some sprinkles, and while it's still kind of wet, love these sprinkles, and you can put your sprinkles down and they'll harden with the icing. So what I like to do with the trees is make them look like they're actually like got ornaments on them. Cute! And yes, I'm one of those weirdos that I cannot just throw sprinkles on. It has to be evenly spread out. There we go. So there is one Christmas tree. So like I said, this is not an exact science. This recipe is not going to be exact to how you want it. I would like them a little bit thicker, but that's just me. So there is one example of what we can do. Let's do, I have some red, so we can do a Santa hat. Now I want to show you guys one of the interesting ones that we made last year with the gingerbread. Oh no. With the gingerbread cookie. You can make a regular gingerbread person. So give them little overalls and stuff and all that. Make them into an elf. Make them into Santa, Mrs. Claus, whoever, right? But if you actually turn them the other way, you can actually make a reindeer. So I don't have the colors I need. So I really need brown, but I'm not gonna make them right now. I just wanna show you guys what I'm talking about. So if you kind of like cut it off this way, you would take your other color, like maybe a darker color or something. All I have is red, and it's very runny, and you can make antlers. Ooh. See where I'm going with this? Let's give them a little red nose. Oh no, it's probably a bad idea. Woo. Okay. Ooh, it's messy. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this? Okay, I have some pictures of what we did last year, and they were actually like really, really good last year. So I'm gonna insert those now. But you get the idea. So with the gingerbread cookie, you get 2 for 1. You can do a gingerbread dude, or you can do a reindeer if you flip them around. So I made a huge mess with this. Like I said, this is not an exact science. I'm not a baker. This is just for fun. This stuff will harden eventually. So yeah, it looks like it's falling off, but you can already see, like, see, that's already starting to harden right there. So these will harden. You probably want to give them at least an hour. I would honestly give them at least 6 hours. That's just me. If you're wanting to transport them or something, unless you have them on a sheet or something of that nature. Oh, his little eyeballs are floating. Oh no. Okay. So anyway, that was that. This is not necessarily a fail because I think that, you know, eventually you could get really good at it. And like I said, this is only our second year making these cookies. So I don't know, do you guys have different techniques, different ideas, how you do things differently? Let me know. Okay, so what do you think? Was this a decent activity? I love making cookies, even though I'm not very good at it. I love making cookies and decorating them. It's definitely fun. I will say that it is very sticky and it can get very messy, but if you have the right mindset that it's for fun and you go into it knowing that you're probably gonna have a mess, then hopefully it won't be as bad for you guys. So I'm going to take this little Santa, no, I'm gonna take this little reindeer dude. I'm gonna take this reindeer guy and taste him and see what he tastes like. So, little reindeer dude. Nice and sweet. The icing gives it plenty of that sweet flavor. Nice crispy, nice crunchy. And it doesn't fall apart. So it's actually like a really good cookie that stays together. So the dough did really well. Didn't do very good at baking it. Didn't do very good at decorating them, but I had fun. So let me know, you guys, if you do any other kind of traditions or something like this. If you make something special that you make around the holiday times that you enjoy making. Let me know if you end up making some cookies like this. But anyways, hopefully I will see you guys in another video. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Thursday or Friday, whenever I'm uploading this, whatever it is. I really enjoy you guys being here. Be sure to like and subscribe and come back for more random cooking if that's what y'all are interested in. So thank you guys, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Bye. Noodles. I have my camera perched precariously up on my on my cabinets with my light, and Newt is trying to get in the cabinet. Oh, this is gonna probably be bad. Noodle boy, get back, please. Noodle. Scoochy, scoochy. All right. Woo, that's a lot of dough. If only that was like dough as in money.